Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Already, I believe that panelists have been introduced, but I would take extreme pleasure in reintroducing them. We have with us in this esteemed panel Mr. Maqsood Ali, who is President HR of Descon Engineering. Then we have with us Serena Agha, who is the Director HR of Pakistan Cricket Board. Ms. Sameen Zaki, she is the Assistant Registrar at Punjab University Institute of Administrative Sciences. Ms. Sabahat Bukhari, she is an HR professional and consultant. And Mr. Shoaib Ahmed, he is also an experienced HR professional. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was given, in a way, this assignment by Mr. Ghulam Mustafa that we have to conduct this panel, and I have to moderate this panel on why diversity and inclusion must remain a core business imperative post-COVID-19. So I have a couple of questions for myself, and I thought that maybe I can do out loud thinking, and I can share with you some of those ideas. First of all, I'm not sure that we are in post-COVID-19. I hope that we were in post-COVID-19 yesterday, but I think that we still are going through and undergoing COVID-19, number one. And number two, why D&I must remain a core business imperative, I'm not even sure, based on my own little bit of experience and exposure to public and private sector in Pakistan, that whether business imperative for diversity and inclusion, has it been sufficiently established within Pakistani context? So, वो प्रूव करना तो बात की बात है, क्या अभी इनिशियली भी क्या इसको सीनियर लेवल के ऊपर, टॉप लेवल के ऊपर हैज़ इट बीन एस्टैब्लिश्ड? दैट इज़ ऑल्सो a question which remains in my mind. Nevertheless, I must reassure you, and I must also reassure the panelists कि आज की conversation मेरी तरफ से नहीं है, इनकी तरफ से है. तो I would not be taking a lot of their time or your time, so I have a couple of questions which I would be directing at my esteemed panelist. और जो मैंने इनको अर्ज़ किया है, मैं आपके साथ शेयर भी कर देता हूँ कि मैंने इनको यही अर्ज़ किया अपने esteemed panelists से, that we are interested in the actual state of diversity and inclusion in Pakistani organizations. Yes, we are interested in narratives and stories, but at the same time, we are also interested in certain best practices. We are interested in certain successes which have been achieved in the context of diversity and inclusion, but also we are interested in understanding the gaps in Pakistani organizations and how those gaps could be negotiated or those could be addressed at the organizational level. So, इस थोड़े से context के बाद, without further ado, if I could start with you, Serena, given that you are the first female CHRO at Pakistan Cricket Board, should we offer a round of applause to Pakistan Cricket Board to have a first? देखिए बज़ाते खुद मतलब these are baby steps, but these are important steps in the context of diversity and inclusion. So, Serena, ये फरमाइए कि what's the current state of D&I at Pakistan Cricket Board? What is satisfactory and what is not?
Right, so thank you so much for having us over here. You've been an amazing audience since morning. I've seen you once or twice already. So thank you once again for being here. So a question that I am most frequently asked is कि आपके players हैं, तो structure क्या organization का? So behind all of those players, there are products, and there's an entire corporate structure standing behind all of those. So we have our audit department, we have our finance department, we have just the regular departments, HR, you name it, all of it is there. So that's the actual composition of our organization. The D&I initiatives, I think diversity, there's ज़्यादातर हम gender diversity की तरफ जाते हैं, but before that, I would much rather discuss the inclusion bit. And I was discussing with Sabahat just a few minutes ago. Inclusion is a priority for me, for the organization at all levels. So until and unless you have that inclusion perspective, the organization is ready to actually be transparent and include others in the decision-making process. You can't really expect diversity of thought, diversity of gender, diversity of religion, diversity of ethnic origin. You can't really expect all of that. So organizations such as Pakistan Cricket Board and mostly public organizations, they are autocratic. They have a top-down agenda. We are not really into engaging our people, but that's changing. So PCB recently has appointed a new chairman, Ramiz Raja. I'm sure all of you must be aware of that. And he is driving this agenda of getting people on board on whatever there is that needs to be included. People need to be included from bottom up. So we are transforming the entire organization, the perspective of all of this. Having said that, I think it was a jump start for diversity, gender diversity last year. Why I say that? Because we did have an agenda that we needed to get first ever female board member. And Ms. Alia Zafar, I'm very happy to say and very proud to say that we included her in our board year before last. And since then, I am the second person who is joined in the organization as the senior role. So I'm the first ever HR director and first ever female director across PCB. It's a start. We are not there yet. Across the organization, we have less than 1% of female staff. But we do understand before we actually hire hire more female staff, we need to have the inclusion agenda straight and upfront forward. Do we have specific goals for diversity? Not really written down anywhere, but me being a female, I understand the challenges that all of us are facing over there. One of my team members is also female currently, and then I'm going to hire another one. Faika is actually sitting here with us. So that's the state of PCB right now. We are not there, anywhere there. One of the things that we need to consider probably is 53% of our staff is in such roles that are predominantly male. So this could be administrative staff, and that's because of the nature of the profession and the nature of the country. So we are struggling with all of that, but I'm hoping that we will get there sometime, probably in the next 4 or 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. So, Maqsood Saab, if I could come to you. Ye farmaiye, the same question is directed at you. Or kindly ye bhi farmaiye that in the context of Descon, what is satisfactory and what is not in terms of D&I, please?
I will just start from where she has dropped the ball. Descon, we are an engineering organization, so mostly strengthened by engineers. So the situation in Descon is basically highly populated with engineers. So it's very difficult to get a female engineers here. Mindset nahi hai. The other part is that beside that, our business model is also very different. So we are not a regular organization. We have a regular business, but we also do projects. So we are an organization where we acquire services, we depute people, and we remove them. So there is a business model also. Keeping both of things in mind, so the numbers are not very encouraging. The numbers are very humble. If I talk about our diversity number on overall basis, just 2%. We have recently agreed at a leadership level that we should at least do it. At the start, we'll do it in double the number, so we'll achieve at least 4 to 6%. And on the other side, if I focus that part, I've removed the engineering piece and focus on our support services, the numbers are good over there. So if I've talked about support services, the number is 5 to 7% at this point in time. What we have done is recently that we have just concluded our GTP program. So out of 39 individuals, we have hired 9 female individuals. So it's around about 20% of that GTP group also. So we are bringing in diversity in the middle management. On the other side, our focus is not on the gender piece. Our focus is more on the ethnicity side and nationality. So we being a multinational organization origin from Pakistan, so that's something which we really want to focus on. If I look back, if I refer you to one of the survey of McKinsey of 2018, organization with better ethnicity perform better, 33% perform better than normal organization. And if you focus on the gender piece, those organizations perform 21%. So the real thing is, I believe, is in the ethnicity part, where you get the creativity, you get the different various backgrounds. Rather than focusing on gender, I believe we should be focusing on the other part of diversity. So that's very important for us. So we are also targeting on that piece. because focusing on number and targeting few things would not give us the right results. So we are more towards innovation, we are more towards creativity, we are more towards curiosity. So that you can get through ethnicity mix, nationality mix. In overseas, we have a good mix of nationality. So in one of the country, we have a ratio of 50% Pakistani national, and then we have other nationals there. And if I talk about one of my territory, there is a ratio of 30-70%. So towards our diversity, we are focusing on these two mainstream. The gender piece is on the lower side because one is the nature of our business, and the other part is the intake from the industry. So it's very difficult to get engineers from the universities, female engineers. And the conditions are also very different because we are into maintenance job, we are into retrofits, we are into civil, we are into other stuff. So that element is, so for us as a management, what we have decided to focus on these two mainstreams, ethnicity part and the nationality piece.
Thank you, Maqsood Sahab. Let me now go to Sabahat Bukhari. Sabahat, you have, mashallah, wonderful experience of working in various organizations as well as a consultant. So, what's the story there in terms of koi D&I hai Pakistan mein ya lip service zyada hai?
Very interesting question, Jawad sir, because I was hearing about the narrative about the diversity in different organizations, and I've worked with various organizations in the last 10 years. A very prominent saying from Van Meer about diversity and inclusion was that diversity is being invited to party and inclusion is being allowed to dance. Unfortunately, we are not invited to the parties and we are not advised to dance, but the world has moved on from there. We have started talking about D&I, but we have forgotten about equity and belongingness, without which numbers don't matter. How much number of people you have from diverse background doesn't matter if they are not being able to participate in the main economy or the country or the business performance itself. So if I take that same quote a bit forward to talk about the belongingness and equity, so belongingness is, in the same context, is ability to choose the playlist and being willing to dance and whoever I want to dance with. And equity is my dance is appreciated the same way the other person's dance is. So the whole point of D&I in Pakistan has just started. We have started talking about number of female in the organization, and whenever we talk about diversity, we talk about the gender diversity. We automatically, as an organization, I have seen many times, they always talk about the gender diversity, or very rarely about the disability or differently abled people. But there is a whole sense of neurodiversity and racial diversity, which is not even heard of. Racial diversity in Pakistan is considered as it's not our problem. But it is very much our problem because we are so much racially enriched country that we really need to talk about it. If you have seen, छोटी सी गाड़ी जा रही होती है, उसके पीछे लिखा होता है राणा साहब और राजपूत दा खड़ाक. These are all our racial expressions, and we are completely missing out as organizations on the business side of this diversity by only focusing on the numbers. So right now, I would say our country is making pace, but post-COVID, जो भी pace हमने बनाई थी, that is badly damaged. Because of the societal and cultural issues, only in Pakistan, Lahore के अंदर ही, I did a survey during one of my talk. 25% of that survey जो कि 1700 खवातीन का था, उसमें 25% of the women actually thought of leaving the workplace earlier during the COVID period time, because there was so much more to manage as compared to what they were doing when they were at workplace. Because our male dominance in the household was more of a bread earner, and women are supposed to do everything else as well. So their workload is just one example, that their workload is not managed. So organizations post-COVID now even need to think about that what flexibility actually mean for work from home. And this is just a starting point. I hope I'm not taking too much time on that.
Thank you, Sabahat. And I really appreciate these contributions, but at the same time, I think that while surely there are gaps in terms of equity and numbers, at the same time, there are certain phenomena which are also appreciable. For example, this very hall in which men and women are present, I have calculated around 30% representation of females is here. So I think that HR legends, they also deserve an appreciation and applause from us. Also, if you look at the construction of this very panel, 60% of the panelists, they are female. So diversity is there. But at the same time, all of us as HR practitioners, consultants, or academics, we are keenly interested in not only numbers, but also some substantive advancement of the agenda of diversity and inclusion in organizations in Pakistan and also multinational organizations operating here. So, Shoaib Saab, if the same question is directed at you, how much of this is just political correctness and how much of this is authentic commitment to diversity and inclusion in organizations?
Thank you very much. My colleagues have already shared a lot of good thoughts and ideas and the real stories also. So I have worked with Unilever, Tetra Pak, Angro Foods, and CCL Pharmaceutical. I still say my longest period was with Unilever, and I still say that the best D&I practices I have seen was in Unilever, and still they are leading it. Then it comes that how one of the local national company took it. There is a structured approach towards implementing an D&I agenda in your organization. It's talking and explaining and inviting the consultants is an excellent job, but you have to take a structural approach within an organization to bring it part of the life, part of the way of doing in the organization. We started with the global D&I agenda. We took it, the clear understanding. We started with the board. So first the board has taken that understanding and the ownership. Then we brought it to HR and RC committee, Human Resource Committee, so that where I was playing my role also. So we able to understand, we able to make a structure that we will be working on 4 areas in the organization. First one was the culture, second one was the environment, third one was the hiring, and fourth one was on the suppliers. So yes, people talk a lot on environment. You have those pictures, colors, and all the employee facilities which shows and clearly support that D&I. Same is for male, female, and special persons, and differently abled person and all that. Then we also have an excellent thing in terms of the hiring. We started new practices that, okay, instead of bringing in top 4 candidates, that, okay, one will be 1 female and 3 male. So where is the comparison? So we started increasing numbers there also. The fourth, we started with the suppliers, that with our supply chain guys, we make them understand, our procurement managers and our supply chain heads, that people who are working with us should be from the diverse background also. We should not always going for the best of the best or world-class things. We also make it a criteria that those organizations, that local vendors and suppliers who are from a diverse background, who have a little bit of inclination towards that one, so give them little bit preferences also. So this is how we implemented, and alhamdulillah, so now if we look at numbers, so it's getting better day by day.
Thank you very much. And and that was a story of CCL Pharma Limited?
Yeah, sorry?
That was CCL Pharma?
Yeah.
A round of applause for CCL Pharma. It's an inspirational story of substantive action towards promotion of diversity and inclusion in a Pakistani organization. Let me go to now Sameen Zaki. Ye farmaiye, what's happening at Punjab University in terms of agendas of diversity and inclusion?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to represent the Punjab University and the education sector over here. After listening all the agendas and all the policies that are going on in the corporate sector, I was just thinking that all the onus comes to the university or the education sector because आप सब लोग हमारे customers होते हैं because हमारे से students जाते हैं आपके पास. So yes, gender diversity I believe is very much there. Punjab University is one of those universities जो कि पूरे पाकिस्तान का एक अक्स है because हमारे पास हर different sector, हर province से लोग आ रहे होते हैं. So yes, it is very, very diverse in terms of the racial diversity and gender diversity. What I see is that there's an issue with the inclusion, obviously. The inclusion is something that is missing. And उसमें मैं एक चीज़ ज़रूर share करना चाहूँगी because there are a lot of women working in Punjab University in the faculty side and in the administrative side as well. So when we talk about women especially, and there are a lot of working mothers, so there should be some policies and some facilities for the working mothers that can be improved in all of the organizations obviously. But racial diversity is something that is an issue in Punjab University. Particularly if we're talking about our university, we have people from various sects, and we do have people from students from the China, from Afghanistan as well. So yes, this is an issue, but this is something that is being tackled by the administration. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this. Now I have been told that we also have to give equal opportunity to the audience in terms of they being provided an opportunity to ask their own specific questions. मेरी बस एक ही अर्ज़ है, जब आप सवाल करें, एक तो kindly सवाल कीजिए. सिर्फ it should be a brief and crisp question instead of an entire discussion. और उससे पहले अपना in one line or 2 or 3 words अपना introduction भी करवा दीजिए. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, state your question, and also, if possible, identify the panelist from whom the question is being asked. So please go ahead. इनको अगर माइक दे दे जी, बिल्कुल आगे हैं जी.
My name is Faisal Kamar, and my question to Maqsood and Sabahat precisely, and anyone can answer that. Do you have any case studies? You know, there are many professions who would like to know the exact case studies and implementation examples for inclusion.
Currently, I would say there is a lot of work going on in inclusion in terms of financial inclusion in Pakistan. State Bank has recently shared their diversity and inclusion policy. Although I must say that financial service, and Jawad, you're going to like this, that the financial service sector is behind, way behind in D&I. I say you like it because then I'm going to, give the gap as well. But the very good point State Bank has actually mentioned here is it's not the diversity policy. They have introduced diversity and inclusion policy with a very clear agenda of improving the financial inclusion. And that financial inclusion directed towards the gender-based inclusion. So they have a very clear target based on digital inclusion. So that's one which is a very good point. Second, I must appreciate one of my experiences with British Council. British Council is working very hard in terms of inclusion and diversity, but primarily inclusion from all angles, from the racial inclusion, from the gender inclusion. What I must include as part of that discussion is that while we talk about inclusion, many people do not know what inclusion really means. So when we talk about the diversity, we talk about the availability of the facilities at the organization, and they feel that's part of being included. But what is missing from all that is even before COVID and after COVID is what really that diverse workforce want from the organization. So including their voice from the get-go, from the development of the strategy to the execution is very important part, and yet many organizations are still missing out on that. I hope I answered that.
Yeah. Would you like to take this as well? Or? ठीक है जी, thank you. There is a gentleman here, अगर इनको माइक दे दें जी. कोई माइक वाले साहब या साहिबा है हमारे पास?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salman Wasi. I am head of HR in Morris Garages, MG Automobile, and also a student of Jawad Syed Sahab. I just want to ask the panel, no one in particular, but if anybody wants to take that question, that why in Pakistan diversity is synonymous to gender diversity? Like one panelist just said that we are fixated on gender diversity. And even globally, the United Nations Sustainability Target for 2022, they want the organizations to be at least 40% gender-wise diverse. So what advice you will give to HR heads that what other diversity and inclusion factors then can they keep in a diverse workforce? And second question is that how much important is the cultural quotient in today's talent acquisition? Thank you.
Thank you, Salman. ये फरमाएं कि तलवार का रुख किसकी तरफ है? And you are mashallah as sharp as you were at LUMS, ji. So even more than that, ji. Ji, anyone who would like to take this? I'm not taking this.
So on the cultural piece, I believe कि जो है, it's not only just focusing on the numbers, on the gender piece. I believe you need to build the entire infrastructure. Not only focusing on policies, you need to change the mindset also. When you are attracting talent, you have to have those policies so that you can attract the right talent, bring in the right infrastructure around it. If I refer back to my previous organization, KE, when we decided to increase our numbers in terms of female colleagues, so we not only just increased the number, we invested a lot in the infrastructure also, because there were certain IBCs there we don't have any female washrooms, so we did that. So it's not only just fixing the number, it's changing the entire, it's changing the mindset of the organization, creating awareness among other people to accept their, the other gender as part of their organization, part of the society. One other thing what we did in KE, I believe is that we were the only one, I think we were the first one we introduced transgenders for meter reading. So that was one of the things which we did in my previous organization. And that was, came up with an idea to what value we can draw from diversity. Unfortunately, in HR, we don't connect our diversity piece with the value we can draw from that. Here in Descon, what I have done with the leadership team and the management team, I told them, if we just focus on getting the female numbers, probably it would be difficult to get that value. So let's connect our diversity with the value we can connect. If we go for ethnicity and we go for different background of individuals, so probably we will have different thoughts on the table. What I have experienced here, moving from Karachi to a city in Lahore, most of the people are from the same backgrounds. So you lack diversity, you lack creative thinking over there. So mindset is very clear. So one of the things which I believe, which is very important, is that we should connect diversity with the value, what value that diversity will bring on the table. By doing that, we can achieve our objectives.
Thank you, Maqsood Saab. So basically, it's an issue of mindset. That first, the mindset, which cultural quotient ki Salman ne baat ki, that may also be addressed if the mindset is being leveled and developed towards perhaps more acceptance of diversity and more appreciation of diversity. To that side of the panel, agar main ek sawal aapse arz karu कि
I would like to answer also.
Go ahead.
This one is, देखें ओवरऑल पाकिस्तान वैसे ही अपने जितने ह्यूमन इंडेक्सेस हैं उसमें वैसे ही हम काफ़ी लो हैं ग्लोबली. सो DNI के ऊपर भी हमारा तकरीबन उसी तरह का ही हाल है. लेकिन ये प्रैक्टिसेस, यस, इनको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और HR इसको लीड करता है, उसको स्टार्ट होना है. बहुत ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो कि ग्लोबली उस तरह काम कर रही हैं या ग्लोबल डाइवर्सिटी इंडेक्स के जो टारगेट्स हैं उनको लेके चल रही हैं, तो दैट्स देयर. वो बहुत अच्छा स्ट्रक्चर और फ्रेमवर्क आपको मुहैया करती हैं. लेकिन हमारे पास ये जो जब दिल से बात आएगी ना, दिल से अगर हम रियासत मदीना की बात करते हैं तो उससे ज़्यादा डाइवर्स रियासत कौन सी थी? बिलाल हबशी भी थे, उनकी जंगों में ख़वातीन भी पार्टिसिपेट किया करती थी,
सलमान फ़ारसी भी थे.
या एग्जैक्टली. सो दैट्स देयर जो हमें समझाने के लिए, या और उसका जो फाइनेंशियल उसका इम्पैक्ट है, वो अगर हम उसको रिलेट कर पाए तो ये बहुत आसानी से और जल्दी से हो जाए.
ये फरमाइए इसी बात की कंटिन्यूएशन में शोएब साहब, ये कि देखिए सेट के लिए MNCs के तो एजेंडा आ रहे हैं ना जी, अमेरिका से आ रहे हैं, यूरोप से आ रहे हैं, हमें अंदाज़ा है कि उनके एजेंडास आ रहे हैं एंड दे ड्यू टू वट एवर रीज़न दे आर कमिटेड टू डिवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूजन, और हमें भी करना पड़ता है इफ़ वी आर दी लाइक इफ़ वी आर एन MNC ऑपरेटिंग इन पाकिस्तान। लेकिन जो पाकिस्तानी कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर है या इवन फॉर पब्लिक सेक्टर, ट्रिगर क्या है? व्हाट्स अ ट्रिगर फॉर डिवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूजन? एनीवन?
I'd like to, can I just add something to the question that this gentleman said over here? I think prior to anything, आपने talent attract कहाँ से करना है? So Descon is struggling, we are struggling, I'm sure most organizations are struggling कि ये female gender is not very open to applying to our positions. Before that, I think आपका education piece जो missing है, you have to make it a safe environment for different ethnicities, minorities. How do you do that? That's the education piece, and that's educating our own people. So top-down approach जो भी होगी वो डंडे के जोर पे होगी. You need to engage your own people and start educating them on all of these benefits. जिस financial benefit एक बात हुई, then what kind of psychological benefits do your people probably are going to reap in the future? So, you know, those kind of things are the education piece, awareness piece is absolutely important to make it a safe place for minorities to actually come and work for you. That's my point. I think please let's take
I would like to add a few quick points to it. One is that why gender diversity? Because globally it is identified that female inclusion in workforce is less. This is like given. And across 1700 countries, the data was collected. In 91%, a difference was found among those countries and among those organizations where female leaders were present. There was 30% more revenue there. So there is a business case for gender diversity that is available right now. That is why naturally a business case is available though. So we want to focus on gender diversity, and it is an underrepresented number as well. So when it comes to underrepresentation, in Pakistan underrepresentation is much more. अब बहुत ही अजीब सी बात है सप्लाई साइड के ऊपर मैं अक्सर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस का सुनती हूँ कि जी हमारे पास फीमेल अवेलेबल नहीं है, और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस विच आर एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट दे से कि जी हमारी फीमेल व्हेन दे ग्रेजुएट इट इज़ अंडर 10% नंबर विच मेक्स पार्ट ऑफ द वर्कफोर्स. तो कोई तो एक कुआं है जिसमें ये सारा टैलेंट जा रहा है, एंड दैट कुआं अब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता लोगों को आइडियलाइज होना शुरू हुआ है. Our society is made up of different dynamics. So organizations need to think and rethink diversity. They need to rethink what are they offering. Are they offering only joining and joining benefits, or they are offering flexibility once the family is made? The returnships offers, the influencing offers. Generally we are talking about the numbers at a low level. What about the leadership level? Female don't want to be part of the leadership because the number of responsibilities increases and then there is less support at home. So what are employers doing about that? So if you talk about what can the HR do or what can organizations do, I would say rethink D&I. Rethink what diversity and inclusion and belongingness mean to you, especially post-COVID. Especially what do you want after the flexibility? Do you want flexibility of working from home without providing any support at work while they are at home? Because they are managing the chores at home as well.
Thank you.
So these are all the topics that organizations read to. So one keyword, rethink D&I. Rethink how we are doing it now.
Thank you, Sabahat.
To add on what she has said, right now there are two different definitions for D&I. For millennials, its experiences, its diversity, it's everything on the earth. And for people like us from the previous regime, it's equality, it's gender. So there is a difference of opinion also in both mainstreams. So people who are going to join us as millennials, they think differently. And we who are hiring those individuals, we have a different mindset. So that's also a gap. We need to also further look into that situation also, how to bridge both the mindsets.
That's right. So यहाँ पर we are talking about not only age diversity but also attitudinal diversity. But at the same time, there are certain diversity sore points in each country and each society. For example, in the US context, we are talking about, for example, racial diversity. In the Pakistani context, unfortunately, it's not really talked about, but like ethnic diversity and religious and sectarian diversity, these are important dimensions of diversity which are often, for example, they are swept under the carpet and so on and so forth. There is a very interesting article on this topic by my Canadian colleague, Alison Conrad, and she has written an article titled Diluting Diversity, that there are diversity sore points which we have to continue to pay attention to, but surely there are other dimensions of diversity as well. I will take one question from the audience, और उसके बाद then I will come once again to the panel, और आपसे, given that we have limited time, मैं आपसे अर्ज करूँगा कि एक practical tip सबके साथ share कीजिए, ताकि all of us could benefit from your own practical, pragmatic, doable, actionable suggestion to promote diversity and inclusion. But first, I'll take that question.
Sir, thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. I'm Hamid Rafiq, Deputy Director HR from DHA Lahore. I just want to add one thing. Everybody talks about diversity and inclusion. We talk more about diversity, and once we talk about inclusion, that in my organization, what we have seen that after giving an employment opportunity to a disabled or specially abled person, you need to look after him. You need to provide a very conducive environment, working where his or her self-respect is not touched or harmed, and likewise, it is the functioning or facilitating those things. We in DHA provide employment opportunities to war wounded, and beside that, we also provide opportunities to the specially abled persons from the civil sector as well. So I would like to know the candid comments of the panel on this important aspect.
Thank you very much. Any taker? सब एक दूसरे की तरफ देख रहे हैं? Anyone?
On the differently enabled individuals के लिए आपको जो है एक तो again mindset की बात है, people encourage नहीं करते, उसको जो है हमें उसकी तरफ awareness करनी चाहिए. As HR practitioners, we also need to basically put some effort around it and show the dollar value around that initiative. Once आप किसी भी चीज़ के साथ dollar value लगाना शुरू कर देंगे, एक्सेप्टेंस भी आनी शुरू हो जाएगी और इंडिविजुअल्स की कंट्रीब्यूशंस भी आनी शुरू हो जाएगी. सो मैंने कहा ना कि कल्चरल चेंज में इट्स नॉट जस्ट अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेशन, शोइंग द अदर इंडिविजुअल द वैल्यू ऑफ दैट कंट्रीब्यूशन, द वैल्यू ऑफ दैट इनिशिएटिव. जैसे ही उसको फ़ायदा नज़र आएगा, को वैल्यू नज़र आएगी, उस पर काम करना शुरू हो जाएगा, चाहे वो आप डिफरेंटली इनेबल लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं या रेगुलर इंडिविजुअल्स की बात.
थैंक यू.
हम पाकिस्तान में तो ये सिर्फ छोटी छोटी बातें हैं. इन द वेस्ट अब कलर की बात हो रही है कि कौन से कलर है. सो वन ऑफ द आपका जो फंड मैनेजमेंट ऑफिस है इन US, 30% आर ब्लैक फीमेल एंड देयर ग्रोथ इज 30% मोर देन अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. So it depends. Diversity, I believe it's now become a very broad subject. It has a lot of variation into it, a lot of element into it. We need to move away from the numbers and start focusing on the various opportunities around diversity.
Thank you, Maqsood साहब. मुझे आपकी बात से business case, basically this is the business case of diversity, organizations के लिए, MNCs के लिए, SET के लिए. Public sector तो फिर भी social case के लिए they would be interested due to legislative or social justice reason, लेकिन private sector usually they would be interested in the business case of diversity and inclusion. इससे मुझे आपकी बात से याद आ गया, छोटे होते हमें तो पढ़ाया जाता था, नज़ीर अकबर आबादी उर्दू के शायर थे, और उनकी एक नज़्म है रोटियां के नाम से. तो कहते हैं कि पूछा किसी ने ये किसी कामिल फ़कीर से, ये महरो माह हक ने बनाए हैं किस लिए, ये जो चांद और सूरज हैं अल्लाह ताला ने क्यों बनाए हैं, किसी फ़कीर से किसी ने पूछा. तो वो सुन के बोला, बाबा खुदा तुझको खैर दे, बाबा हमें तो ये नज़र आती हैं रोटियां. तो जब भूख लगी होती है तो चांद और सूरज भी रोटियां नज़र आते हैं। तो डाइवर्सिटी और इंक्लूजन को अगर हमने प्रमोट करना है तो एज HR प्रैक्टिशनर्स, एज HR पॉलिसी मेकर्स, एज HR एकेडमिक्स, ये हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है दैट वी हैव टू सेल द business case of diversity and inclusion in front of the decision makers. These are my 2 cents. तो as promised, वो इकबाल की बात याद आ गई, ज़माना बड़े शौक से सुन रहा था लेकिन टाइम बहुत लिमिटेड है जी, तो इसलिए अब आते हैं दोबारा। अच्छा आप प्लीज़ गो हेड। सही सर जी।
Okay, my name is Syed. I'm an image and wardrobe consultant from New York. First, I just want to share some stats from New York. Obviously, we're talking about diversity, and I mean, they're the leader, doing a lot of things about diversity and everything. And one of the facts that I want to share with you is that right now, most of the graduates from Ivy League colleges are women, more than 50%. But if you look at C-level, even in America, you can't find more than 25, 30% women in those positions. In Pakistan, I believe the situation is much, much worse. There are a lot of capable women here. And I know it's a man's world. I mean, it's over there, it's more so here as well. So my first question is that, what are we doing about that? How to cultivate women so that they can go not only up to a certain level, but hey, I mean, many of them are brighter than men, I would say, and they're very much capable to even run the countries, let alone the corporations. So what are we doing collectively as HR to bring women all the way to the C-level? And the other is an observation and a question. I'm a dressing guy, so I'm going to ask from a dressing point of view as well, that I've seen a lot of qualified people, they're left behind because not so much that they don't have the education, skill set, experience, but how they look. I mean, I dress a lot of C-level people, and I ask them, I said, what's your biggest criteria? And they tell me that the biggest criteria is not, how capable they are, because they are capable. When you are in top management, middle management, way up there, I mean, if you're not qualified, you don't belong there. So how do they choose?
Thank you.
And they say that they choose based on, if this person looks the part. So yes, having women, more incorporated into companies and all that, but what are we doing them to really help them to, especially for women, there are a lot of issues, am I overdressed, am I underdressed? What are the dress policies? What are we doing about that? So these are the 2 questions.
Thank you, Syed Saab. Mukhtasaran agar aap kindly ji, please go ahead.
So Hamid Saab, coming to your first question only, so the process has started. Let me assure you, the females, the higher number are getting graduated. It's just a matter of time. They are coming up. Like you see, Indians are coming, the CEOs of the global organizations. So this process not started within few years. This process has started 10, 15, 20 years ago. So yes, it's just a matter of time. So you will see a lot of females at the CEO level soon.
Thank you. Yes, please, go ahead.
So in organizations, I know there has been affirmative action where women are propagated more and they're pushed ahead in the hierarchy. So there is a downside to it as well. There are other individuals, probably other gender, who is performing better, but they do not get promoted. So there is some sort of, I would say, a reaction to all of that, a resistance for all of that. So how are we managing all of this? Affirmative action does, it has some sort of cons as well. So that is also a piece that we need to consider as HR fraternity over here. What is it that we can do for those individuals against whom, not exactly against, but against the bunch, affirmative action has been taken. So that's another point.
Thank you, Serena. Institutional pressure है कि बहुत जल्दी हमने close करना है, लेकिन आखिरी सवाल मैं फिर भी पूछूंगा. लेकिन time आपके पास 30 seconds है per person जी. Practical tips, something which all of us could utilize in our own organization to promote diversity. Serena, from you.
So just a very small statement, education piece. Have as many seminars, as many collection of people that you can get and talk to them about diversity. Why is it important? Bring the ROI it's not just the financial impact that you need to bring in the other elements also. So consider hamari PCB, why do people work for us? Mostly it's because of Pakistan ka naam and cricket. So you use that, not in a negative manner, but something that you know that motivates your people. So bring that. How is that going to help, in effect, your brand and your company?
Thank you, Serena Sahiba. Maqsood Sahab.
The only way you can drive your initiative is once you attach that initiative with a dollar term. Once any Syed, any individual, any corporation see the value of investment in terms of dollar, you can achieve anything you want.
Thank you. Sabahat.
Two quick tips. One, for everyone, start where you are. You can be the diversity champion without needing to wait for a big event to come in. So start where you are. Do whatever you can do. And for all the HR people, please increase the number of female. If you want female in your organization, increase the number of female in the panel. There is a study which tells there is 80% more chances of a qualified female to be selected for a job if the interview panel is also diverse. So start from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Shoaib.
Yeah, 2 points. One is that is the structured approach. Go with a proper framework and structured approach, you will achieve these targets in your organization. One.
Sameen.
Yeah, I would just like to add one thing. I would like to request all the employer organizations to design the policies and procedures, especially for the females, because in our culture, we are, yes, I would agree that Ahmed Syed Saab has rightly pointed out, we have a lot of female population that is being educated in the university. Here in university, we do have a larger population, female population, 60 to 40%. There's a ratio. So, but I don't see many female students and graduates getting hired because of a lot of issues that they face. So I would request all the employer organizations to design certain policies, जहाँ पर आप उनके जैसे पहले भी बात करनी थी मैडम सबाहत भी, returnships कुछ organizations से शुरू किए हैं, if they are getting married and then they have kids and they have certain different responsibilities, तो kindly design such policies and procedures for females.
Thank you very much. अच्छा आखिर में 4 हमने ग्रुप्स का शुक्रिया अदा करना है और तालियां हमने चारों दफ़ा बजानी है जी। तो पहले तो मेरे 3 PhD स्टूडेंट्स हैं, फ्यूचर कॉलीग्स हैं, काफ़ी ज़्यादा मुझसे बोर होते रहे हैं जी। मेहर है हमारे साथ, नोमा है और मोईद हैं, इनका शुक्रिया कि ये हमारे पास तशरीफ़ लाए जी। अच्छा, दूसरा शुक्रिया जो है HR लेजेंड्स का है कि उन्होंने डाइवर्सिटी और इंक्लूजन को इस काबिल समझा कि उसके लिए एक पैनल रखा जी। और तीसरा शुक्रिया ऑडियंस का कि आपने इंटरैक्टिवली और एक्टिवली इसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया और सवाल पूछे जी। अब आखिर में पैनलिस्ट का शुक्रिया अदा कर लें जी, इनका शुक्रिया जी कि अपने कीमती वक्त से इन्होंने वक्त निकाला जी। थैंक यू वेरी मच, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, रियली अप्रिशिएटेड जी।